Britain woke up today to a headline that could reshape every household budget across the country. The new Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has refused to rule out tax rises, a statement that's sending shockwaves through Westminster, business circles, and the British public alike. Could income tax, VAT, or even national insurance go up under Labour's new plans? Or is this just careful political language hiding a bigger economic challenge? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we'll break down what Reeves really said, why it matters, and how it could affect you directly. Since taking office as the UK's first female chancellor, Rachel Reeves has made one thing clear: the country's finances are in worse shape than anyone expected. Inflation may have eased slightly, but growth remains flat, borrowing costs are high, and public services from the NHS to local councils are under massive strain. In a recent interview, Reeves was asked whether she could guarantee no tax rises beyond those already outlined in Labour's election manifesto. Her answer was blunt: "I can't make commitments today that would tie our hands tomorrow." That one sentence has unleashed a political storm. It's the kind of answer that says everything and nothing at once, and it leaves open the possibility of higher taxes across the board. Reeves's refusal to rule out new taxes is about more than revenue. It's about trust. Labour campaigned on stability, promising no surprises and no reckless spending. But the UK's public finances are worse than expected, and now Reeves faces an impossible balancing act: repair the economy, fund essential services, and keep the promises that got Labour elected. The government's spending commitments on health, defence, and education already exceed the projected revenue from existing taxes. Unless economic growth accelerates sharply, Reeves will need new income streams, and that likely means tax changes. So what exactly could go up? Let's look at the options Reeves has and the political risks attached. Income tax, Britain's biggest single source of revenue. Raising income tax rates or adjusting thresholds could bring in billions, but it's politically toxic. Reeves knows this, which is why she'll likely avoid directly increasing rates instead. She might allow fiscal drag to do the work for her. By freezing thresholds, more people drift into higher tax brackets without any law change. National insurance, rise here would be deeply unpopular, but technically easier to justify, especially if framed as protecting the NHS. Even a 1% increase could generate more than $6 billion annually. VAT, the simplest to raise but the harshest on lower-income households. Raising VAT from 20% to 22% could add around $14 billion per year, but would instantly push up the cost of everyday essentials, something Reeves would prefer to avoid amid fragile consumer confidence. Capital gains and wealth taxes. Labour has hinted before at closing loopholes and taxing wealth more fairly. That could include higher capital gains tax on investments or reforms to inheritance tax thresholds. Politically, this aligns with Reeves's promise of fairness but risks spooking investors and small business owners. The opposition wasted no time. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak accused Reeves of breaking faith with working families and warned that Labour's tax bombshell had arrived sooner than expected. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage's Reform UK called it proof that Labour's promises were nothing but smoke and mirrors. Even within Labour, whispers are growing. Some MPs fear Reeves's cautious approach could undermine public trust just months into government. Others argue that Britain's fiscal reality leaves her no choice. But the truth is, the numbers don't lie. Britain's debt is approaching $2.7 trillion. Interest payments on that debt have soared past $100 billion a year, and the global economic slowdown is squeezing trade and investment. Something has to give. Economists are divided. Some say Reeves is right to keep her options open, that promising no tax rises would be reckless given the global uncertainty. Others warn that even hinting at higher taxes could scare businesses and slow recovery. The Institute for Fiscal Studies estimates that to maintain public services and meet Labour's spending goals, the Treasury will need an extra $15 to $20 billion per year by 2026. Without growth, there are only two ways to get that: borrowing or taxation, and Reeves has repeatedly vowed to reduce borrowing. That leaves taxes. So what does this mean for ordinary Britons? If Reeves adjusts tax thresholds or raises national insurance, the average worker could see take-home pay shrink by a few £100 a year. Small business owners might face higher corporation tax bills or reduced investment incentives, and middle-income income households already squeezed by energy and mortgage costs could see little relief in the next budget. But it's not all gloom. Reeves insists that any tax adjustments will be fair, measured, and focused on rebuilding Britain. She argues that stability and credibility are essential after years of turbulence from the Truss mini-budget crash to pandemic-era spending sprees. Her allies say she's restoring discipline, not imposing austerity. Internationally, markets are watching closely. The pound slipped slightly after Reeves's remarks, but stabilized as analysts noted her commitment to fiscal responsibility. Investors trust her more than they trusted the last few chancellors, but they want clarity. If Britain raises taxes without boosting productivity, capital may flow elsewhere. Meanwhile, Washington and Brussels are quietly relieved. They see Reeves as a serious figure, pragmatic, data-driven, and aware of the limits of populism. But at home, she faces the hardest test of all, convincing voters that short-term pain is worth long-term stability. Reeves's next major test will be the autumn budget, expected within weeks. There, she must reveal whether her words today were simply caution or a warning of real change. If she raises taxes, it could spark political backlash. If she doesn't, the bond markets might punish Britain for weak fiscal discipline. Either way, the stakes couldn't be higher. Reeves is walking a tightrope between politics and economics, between credibility and compassion. Her success or failure will shape not just Labour's future, but Britain's entire economic direction for the next decade. So, here's the takeaway. Rachel Reeves didn't announce a tax rise today, but by refusing to rule one out, she's opened a door that no chancellor can easily close. It's a calculated gamble signaling honesty, but risking backlash. The question now is simple. Will the British public accept higher taxes if it means long-term stability? Or will this be the first crack in Labour's promise of economic renewal? For now, all eyes are on the Chancellor, and the next budget may decide whether this government stands firm or starts to fall apart.